Deep within your consciousness lies a force so powerful, so absolutely transformative, that once awakened it can reshape every aspect of your existence. This force has been used by the greatest minds throughout history, by those who seem to possess an almost supernatural ability to influence their circumstances, attract success, and bend reality itself to their will. What separates those who achieve extraordinary things from those who struggle endlessly is not luck, not privilege, not even raw talent, but rather their understanding and application of mental magic, the supreme science of thought control and mental influence that operates according to precise, universal laws. William Walker Atkinson understood something that most people never discover in their entire lifetime. He recognized that the mind is not merely a passive receiver of experiences, but an active creator of reality, a broadcasting station that constantly sends out vibrations into the universe, attracting circumstances, people, and opportunities that correspond exactly to the nature of those mental broadcasts. Every thought you think, every mental image you hold, every emotion you feel creates a ripple in the invisible ocean of mental substance that surrounds and permeates all things. These ripples travel outward, interacting with the mental emanations of others, creating patterns of attraction and repulsion, drawing certain experiences toward you while pushing others away. The fundamental principle underlying all mental magic is this: thought is a living force, a tangible energy that operates according to definite laws just as surely as electricity flows through a wire or water runs downhill. When you truly grasp this principle, when you internalize it so completely that it becomes part of your very being, your entire relationship with reality transforms. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and recognize yourself as the architect of your experience, the master builder who constructs the edifice of life through the deliberate direction of mental energy. Consider for a moment the vast difference between two individuals who face identical external circumstances. One person encounters obstacles and immediately begins a mental process of defeat, imagining failure, dwelling on limitations, and expecting the worst possible outcomes. Another person faces those same obstacles, but maintains a mental attitude of confidence, visualizes successful solutions, and expects positive results. The external circumstances are identical, yet the outcomes these two individuals experience will be radically different. Why? Because their mental attitudes, their patterns of thought, create entirely different magnetic fields that attract corresponding results. This is not mere positive thinking or self-delusion. This is the recognition of a fundamental law of nature, as real and immutable as the law of gravity. Just as a magnet attracts iron filings by creating an invisible field of force, your mind creates an invisible mental field that attracts circumstances, people, and opportunities that vibrate in harmony with your dominant thoughts and mental images. When you hold thoughts of success, confidence, and achievement, you literally tune your mental instrument to the frequency of success. And the universe responds by bringing you experiences that match that frequency. The ancient mystics knew this secret and guarded it carefully, revealing it only to the initiated few who had proven themselves worthy through years of study and discipline. They understood that mental magic is not a parlor trick or supernatural phenomenon, but the natural operation of mental law, available to anyone who learns the principles and applies them consistently. These principles are not based on superstition or wishful thinking, but on the observable facts of mental science, facts that have been verified through countless experiments and practical applications. Your mind operates on multiple levels simultaneously. The conscious mind, that part of your mental apparatus that you identify as your thinking self, represents only a small fraction of your total mental power. Beneath the surface of conscious awareness lies the subconscious mind, a vast reservoir of memory, habit, and creative intelligence that operates continuously, even when you sleep. The subconscious mind accepts without question whatever impressions the conscious mind delivers to it, then works tirelessly to manifest those impressions in physical reality. This is why controlling your conscious thoughts is so critically important, because whatever you impress upon your subconscious mind becomes a blueprint that your entire being works to construct. Imagine your conscious mind as a gardener and your subconscious mind as the soil. The gardener decides what seeds to plant, but the soil does not discriminate between seeds of beautiful flowers and seeds of noxious weeds. It accepts whatever is planted and causes it to grow according to its nature. If you plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, those seeds will grow into experiences of doubt, fear, and limitation. But if you deliberately plant seeds of confidence, abundance, and possibility, those seeds will grow into corresponding experiences with the same natural inevitability. The process of mental magic begins with gaining control over your thoughts. Most people allow their minds to wander aimlessly, jumping from one random thought to another like a monkey swinging through trees. They react to every external stimulus, every passing emotion, every suggestion from their environment, without any conscious direction or purpose. This is mental chaos, and it produces chaotic results. The first step in developing mental magic is to establish yourself as the master of your mind rather than its servant, to direct your thoughts deliberately rather than allowing them to drift wherever the winds of circumstance blow them. This requires practice, patience, and persistence. Your mind has been running on autopilot for so long that taking conscious control feels unnatural at first, like learning to use your left hand when you have always been right-handed. But with consistent effort, you can develop the ability to hold your attention on a chosen thought, to visualize a desired outcome with clarity and intensity, and to maintain a positive mental attitude regardless of external circumstances. This is not easy work, but it is the foundation upon which all mental magic is built. One of the most powerful techniques in mental magic is the practice of mental visualization, the art of creating vivid, detailed mental pictures of the outcomes you desire. This is not mere daydreaming or fantasy, but a disciplined mental exercise that impresses specific images upon the subconscious mind, which then works to manifest those images in physical form. When you visualize something with sufficient clarity, concentration, and emotional intensity, you activate powerful mental forces that begin immediately to attract the circumstances, people, and opportunities necessary to bring that visualization into reality. The key to effective visualization is detail and emotion. Vague, fuzzy mental pictures produce weak results, but when you create a mental image so clear that you can see every detail, so vivid that it seems more real than physical objects, and when you charge that image with powerful positive emotion, you create a mental blueprint of tremendous potency. Your subconscious mind accepts this blueprint as a command and begins orchestrating all your mental and physical resources toward its fulfillment. Athletes have discovered this principle and use it to enhance performance. Before a competition, elite athletes spend time visualizing themselves executing perfect movements, achieving their goals, and experiencing the feeling of victory. This mental rehearsal creates neural pathways in the brain identical to those created by physical practice, essentially programming the nervous system for success. What works for athletes works equally well for anyone seeking to achieve any goal, whether in business, relationships, health, or personal development. The principle of mental attraction operates constantly, whether you are aware of it or not. Every moment of every day, your mind is broadcasting thoughts that attract corresponding experiences. Most people broadcast a confused mixture of positive and negative thoughts, desires mixed with doubts, hopes tangled with fears, and consequently experience confused, inconsistent results. But when you learn to control your mental broadcasts, to transmit clear, focused, consistently positive thoughts about what you want to create, the results become remarkably predictable. Think of your mind as a radio transmitter, a radio station that constantly changes frequencies, mixing multiple signals together, produces only static and noise. But a station that broadcasts on a clear, consistent frequency produces a signal that can be received clearly by anyone tuned to that frequency. Similarly, when you maintain clear, consistent thoughts about your desired outcomes, you broadcast a clear signal into the mental atmosphere, and the universe responds by reflecting that signal back to you in the form of corresponding experiences. This is why persistence is so crucial. Many people try mental techniques for a short time, then abandon them when they do not see immediate results. They are like someone who plants a seed, then digs it up the next day to see if it has sprouted. The seed needs time to germinate, time to send down roots, time to gather strength before breaking through the soil into the light. Similarly, mental seeds need time to work their way from the invisible realm of thought into the visible realm of physical manifestation. Those who persist, who maintain their mental vision despite apparent lack of immediate results, inevitably see those visions materialize. The power of belief cannot be overstated. What you truly believe, deep in the core of your being, determines what is possible for you. If you believe you are limited, you will experience limitation. If you believe you are capable, you will experience capability. If you believe the universe is abundant and responsive to your desires, you will experience abundance and responsiveness. Your beliefs act as filters through which you perceive reality, and they also act as magnets that attract experiences consistent with those beliefs. Many people carry limiting beliefs that were installed in childhood, beliefs they have never questioned or examined. They believe they are not smart enough, not talented enough, not worthy enough to achieve great things. These beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies, creating experiences that seem to confirm their validity. But beliefs are not facts. They are simply thoughts that have been repeated so often they have carved deep grooves in the mind. And just as limiting beliefs can be installed, they can be replaced with empowering beliefs through the deliberate, consistent repetition of new thoughts. Affirmations are one of the most powerful tools for reprogramming limiting beliefs. An affirmation is a positive statement declared as if it were already true, repeated with conviction and feeling until it becomes embedded in the subconscious mind. When you affirm, "I am confident, capable, and successful," you may not feel confident, capable, or successful at first. Your current circumstances may seem to contradict the affirmation completely, but as you repeat the affirmation consistently, with feeling and conviction, it begins to take root in your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, which does not distinguish between actual experiences and vividly imagined ones, accepts the affirmation as truth and begins reorganizing your thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors to align with that truth. The process works even more powerfully when you combine affirmations with visualization and emotion. State your affirmation, visualize yourself embodying its truth, and generate the feeling you would experience if the affirmation were already completely manifest in your life. This triple combination of words, images, and emotions creates an overwhelming impression on the subconscious mind, accelerating the transformation process dramatically. Understanding the law of vibration is essential to mastering mental magic. Everything in the universe vibrates, from the densest matter to the subtlest thought. Different rates of vibration create different forms of manifestation. Solid matter vibrates at a relatively slow rate, while thought vibrates at an extraordinarily rapid rate. But despite the difference in vibration rates, they are all manifestations of the same fundamental energy, just as ice, water, and steam are all manifestations of the same substance at different vibration rates. Your thoughts create vibrations that radiate outward from your mind, affecting everything around you. When you think thoughts of health, those vibrations influence your body toward greater vitality. When you think thoughts of prosperity, those vibrations attract opportunities for increased wealth. When you think thoughts of love, those vibrations draw loving people and circumstances into your life. Conversely, thoughts of disease create vibrations that undermine health. Thoughts of poverty create vibrations that repel abundance, and thoughts of fear and anger create vibrations that attract threatening situations. This is why the company you keep matters so much. You are constantly influenced by the mental vibrations of those around you. People who complain constantly, who focus on problems rather than solutions, who see obstacles rather than opportunities, emit negative vibrations that can drag down your own mental state if you are not careful to guard against them. On the other hand, people who maintain positive attitudes, who focus on possibilities, who expect the best from life, emit uplifting vibrations that can elevate and inspire you. Around the 10-minute mark in this exploration of mental magic, this is an excellent moment to pause and reflect on how these principles might already be operating in your life. If you are finding value in understanding these powerful mental laws, please like and subscribe to Audiobook Library, as it helps the channel grow and enables us to bring you more transformative content like this. Your support makes it possible to continue sharing these life-changing ideas with seekers around the world. The principle of mental contagion explains why emotions and attitudes spread through groups so readily. When one person in a room feels anxious, others begin to feel anxious without necessarily knowing why. When one person radiates confidence and enthusiasm, those qualities tend to spread to others nearby. You are constantly absorbing mental vibrations from your environment and broadcasting your own vibrations that others absorb. This creates a tremendous responsibility to maintain positive, constructive mental states, not only for your own benefit, but for the benefit of everyone your mental influence touches. The practice of concentration is fundamental to all mental magic. Concentration is the ability to hold your attention steadily on a chosen object, thought, or task without allowing it to wander. Most people have very poor concentration. Their attention flits from one thing to another, never settling long enough on anything to generate real power. But when you develop the ability to concentrate, to focus the full power of your mind on a single point like sunlight focused through a magnifying glass, you can accomplish things that seem miraculous to those who lack this ability. Concentration is to the mind what focus is to light. Diffuse sunlight, spread across a wide area, produces gentle warmth. But when that same sunlight is focused through a lens onto a single point, it can ignite fire. Similarly, diffused mental energy, scattered across many concerns and worries, produces weak results. But when that same mental energy is concentrated on a specific goal or purpose, it generates tremendous power that can overcome obstacles that would be impossible to surmount with scattered effort. Developing concentration requires training. Start with simple exercises. Choose an object, perhaps a flower or a simple geometric shape, and practice holding your attention on it for increasing periods of time. When your mind wanders, and it will, gently bring it back to the object without frustration or judgment. With daily practice, your ability to concentrate will strengthen, just as a muscle strengthens with exercise. This increased concentration will benefit every area of your life, from your professional work to your personal relationships to your spiritual development. The power of mental suggestion is another critical aspect of mental magic. Suggestion is the process by which one mind influences another, and it operates constantly in all human interactions. When someone suggests to you that you look tired, you may immediately feel more tired than you did before the suggestion. When someone suggests that you are capable of achieving something difficult, you may find yourself able to accomplish it with surprising ease. Suggestion bypasses the critical, analytical conscious mind and speaks directly to the subconscious, which accepts suggestions uncritically and works to make them real. You can use the power of suggestion on yourself through the practice of autosuggestion, consciously feeding specific suggestions to your own subconscious mind. The famous formula developed by Emile Coué, "Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better," demonstrates the power of simple, repeated autosuggestion. When repeated consistently, especially just before sleep when the subconscious mind is most receptive, such suggestions produce measurable improvements in health, attitude, and life circumstances. The time just before sleep and just after waking are particularly powerful moments for mental magic. During these twilight states, the barrier between the conscious and subconscious mind is thinnest, making it easier to implant suggestions and visualizations deep in the subconscious, where they can work their transformative magic. Many highly successful people make it a practice to spend these precious moments visualizing their goals and affirming their desired outcomes, effectively programming their subconscious mind to work throughout the day toward those ends. Understanding the principle of mental alchemy allows you to transform negative mental states into positive ones. Just as ancient alchemists sought to transform base metals into gold, you can learn to transform base emotions and thoughts into refined, elevated states of consciousness. This is not about suppressing or denying negative feelings, but about consciously choosing to transmute them into something more beneficial. When you feel fear, recognize that fear is simply energy, and energy can be redirected. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, you can channel that energy into constructive action. When you feel anger, recognize that anger is power, and that power can be transformed into determination and resolve. When you feel sadness, recognize that sadness reflects your capacity to feel deeply, and that same capacity can be turned toward joy and gratitude. This is mental alchemy in action, the conscious transformation of mental and emotional states from lower to higher vibrations. The law of rhythm teaches that everything flows in cycles, with peaks and valleys, highs and lows. Understanding this law helps you maintain equilibrium during difficult times. When you are in a low period, you can remember that this is temporary, that the rhythm will inevitably swing upward again. When you are in a high period, you can enjoy it fully while preparing mentally for the inevitable downturn, not with dread, but with the calm assurance that you have the mental tools to handle whatever comes. Those who master mental magic learn to ride these rhythms like a skilled surfer rides waves, moving with the natural flow rather than fighting against it. They do not waste energy resisting the low points, nor do they become attached to the high points. They maintain a steady center, a core of calm stability that remains unchanged regardless of external fluctuations. This is true mastery, the ability to maintain your chosen mental state regardless of circumstances. The principle of polarity teaches that everything has its opposite, and these opposites are actually different degrees of the same thing. Heat and cold are not separate phenomena, but different degrees of temperature. Love and hate are not separate emotions, but different intensities of the same emotional energy. Success and failure are not separate outcomes, but different points on the same continuum of achievement. Understanding this principle allows you to mentally shift from one pole to another. When you find yourself experiencing the negative pole of any condition, you can consciously shift your mental focus toward the positive pole. If you are experiencing poverty consciousness, you can shift toward abundance consciousness by deliberately focusing on thoughts of plenty rather than thoughts of lack. If you are experiencing weakness, you can shift toward strength by focusing on your capabilities rather than your limitations. The poles are already connected. You simply choose which end of the spectrum to emphasize in your thoughts. Mental magic also involves understanding and working with the astral or mental atmosphere. Just as physical locations have atmospheres varying in temperature, pressure, and composition, mental environments have atmospheres composed of the accumulated thoughts and emotions of those who occupy or have occupied those spaces. You have experienced this when entering a place where an argument recently occurred. You can feel the tension in the air even if you know nothing about what happened. Similarly, places where people regularly experience joy and harmony have a pleasant atmosphere that you can sense immediately upon entering. You can deliberately create a positive mental atmosphere in your home and workplace by consistently maintaining uplifting thoughts and emotions in those spaces. Over time, these positive vibrations accumulate, creating an environment that supports and enhances your mental magic practice. Others who enter these spaces will feel the uplifting influence, even if they cannot explain why they feel better in your presence or in your environment. The practice of mental imaging goes beyond simple visualization. It involves creating a complete sensory experience in your mind, engaging not only sight but sound, touch, smell, and taste. When visualizing a desired outcome, imagine not only how it looks, but how it sounds, how it feels, even how it smells. If you are visualizing success in a business venture, see yourself in your successful business, hear the sounds of activity, feel the textures of the furniture and equipment, smell the particular scents of that environment, taste the coffee or tea you might drink while working there. This multi-sensory approach creates an overwhelmingly vivid impression on the subconscious mind, greatly accelerating manifestation. One powerful technique is the construction of a mental workshop, a special place in your imagination that you visit regularly to work on your mental creations. In this mental workshop, you can visualize your goals as if they already exist, can modify and refine your visions, can consult with imagined advisors who represent different aspects of wisdom and knowledge. This technique, used consistently, creates a powerful focal point for your mental energy and provides a retreat where you can work undisturbed by external distractions. The importance of mental hygiene cannot be overstated. Just as you maintain physical hygiene to keep your body healthy, you must maintain mental hygiene to keep your mind clear and powerful. This means being selective about what you allow into your mind through reading, viewing, and conversation. Just as you would not deliberately contaminated food, you should not deliberately consume mental poison in the form of negative news, toxic entertainment, or destructive conversations. This does not mean avoiding all awareness of problems or challenges in the world. It means being intentional about how much and what kind of information you consume and processing that information from a constructive rather than destructive perspective. Read news to stay informed, but do not dwell obsessively on negative stories. Engage with challenging ideas, but do so from a position of mental strength, rather than allowing those ideas to disturb your inner peace. The principle of mental broadcasting can be consciously directed for specific purposes. When you need to influence a situation or person, you can broadcast specific mental messages toward that target. This is not manipulation, but alignment, sending out vibrations that harmonize with the best possible outcome for all involved. Before an important meeting, broadcast thoughts of mutual understanding and beneficial cooperation. Before attempting a challenging task, broadcast thoughts of competence and success. These mental broadcasts influence the subtle levels of reality, preparing the way for favorable outcomes. Some of the most successful people in history have intuitively understood and applied these principles of mental magic. They maintained unwavering faith in their visions, even when circumstances appeared completely opposed to those visions. Thomas Edison conducted thousands of experiments before successfully creating a practical light bulb, maintaining mental certainty of eventual success despite repeated failures. Henry Ford persisted in his vision of making automobiles affordable to ordinary people when the entire industry said it was impossible. These individuals were not lucky or specially gifted. They simply understood and applied mental laws with consistency and determination. You have this same power available to you. The universe does not play favorites. The same mental laws that worked for Edison, Ford, and countless other successful individuals work with equal reliability for anyone who applies them correctly. The question is not whether mental magic works, but whether you will invest the time and effort required to master these principles and apply them consistently in your own life. Consider the story of a young woman who discovered these principles when she was struggling with poverty and poor health. She had every external reason to believe her circumstances would never improve, but she began practicing mental magic, spending time each day visualizing herself healthy and prosperous, affirming her worthiness and capability, deliberately cultivating thoughts of abundance rather than lack. At first, nothing seemed to change. Her circumstances remained difficult, and doubts assailed her regularly, but she persisted, maintaining her mental practices despite the apparent lack of results. Gradually, almost imperceptibly at first, things began to shift. Small opportunities appeared that she might have missed had she not been mentally attuned to possibilities. Her health began to improve in small increments. New people entered her life who offered help and encouragement. Within a year, her circumstances had transformed so completely that even she could hardly believe the change. Within 3 years, she had achieved levels of health and prosperity that once seemed utterly impossible. This transformation occurred not through external magic, but through the consistent application of mental magic, the deliberate direction of thought and mental energy toward desired outcomes. Her story is not unique. Thousands upon thousands of people have experienced similar transformations by applying these same principles. The principles are universal, available to anyone regardless of starting circumstances. What separates those who succeed from those who fail is simply the willingness to persist, to continue applying the principles even when immediate results are not visible, trusting in the inevitable operation of mental law. The concept of mental mastership involves taking complete responsibility for your mental states. Most people believe their thoughts and emotions are caused by external circumstances, that they feel happy because something good happened or sad because something bad happened. But mental masters understand that external circumstances are neutral. It is your interpretation of and response to those circumstances that determines your emotional experience. This recognition is profoundly liberating because it means you are not at the mercy of external events. You always have the power to choose your response, to direct your thoughts in constructive rather than destructive directions. This does not mean denying genuine emotions or pretending everything is wonderful when it is not. It means recognizing that you have options in how you respond to any situation. When faced with a setback, you can choose to interpret it as a disaster that proves you are doomed to failure, or you can interpret it as a learning opportunity that provides valuable information for future success. Both interpretations are available to you in any moment. The mental master consciously chooses the interpretation that serves growth and empowerment. The practice of gratitude is one of the most powerful forms of mental magic. Gratitude is not just a pleasant feeling, but a potent mental force that attracts more of what you appreciate. When you focus on what you are grateful for, you align your mental vibrations with abundance and positivity, which naturally attracts more experiences that generate gratitude. Conversely, when you focus on what is lacking or wrong, you align with scarcity and negativity, attracting more experiences that generate complaint. Many people make the mistake of believing they will feel grateful when they have achieved their goals, when external circumstances improve. But mental magic works in the opposite direction. You cultivate gratitude now for what you already have, and that gratitude creates the mental conditions that attract improvement and achievement. Start each day by identifying specific things you are grateful for, feeling genuine appreciation for them. This simple practice, done consistently, will transform your mental atmosphere and consequently transform your life experience. The power of mental projection allows you to extend your influence beyond your immediate physical presence. Your thoughts about another person, especially when charged with emotion, create a mental connection to that person and influence them at subtle levels. This is why sending thoughts of goodwill, healing and success to others benefits both them and you. The mental energy you project outward creates patterns in the mental atmosphere that ultimately circle back to you, enriched and amplified. This principle also explains why harboring resentment and negative thoughts toward others ultimately harms you more than it harms them. The mental poison you direct outward contaminates your own mental atmosphere first and most strongly. Forgiveness, from this perspective, is not about condoning harmful behavior, but about refusing to allow that behavior to continue poisoning your mental environment. When you forgive, you cut the negative mental connection and free your energy for constructive purposes. Developing mental poise is essential for consistent practice of mental magic. Poise is the quality of remaining calm and centered regardless of external circumstances, maintaining your chosen mental state even when events seem designed to disturb your equilibrium. Most people react automatically to external stimuli, allowing their mental states to be tossed about like a small boat on stormy seas. But with practice, you can develop the ability to remain poised, to observe events without being controlled by them, to maintain your mental direction even in challenging circumstances. This poise comes from regular practice of concentration, meditation, and deliberate thought control. It is like developing a strong core in physical training. A strong core provides stability for all other movements. A strong mental core provides stability for all your thoughts and actions, allowing you to move through life with grace and effectiveness rather than reactive chaos. The principle of mental causation states that every external effect has an internal mental cause. Your current circumstances are the outward manifestation of your past thoughts, just as your future circumstances will be the outward manifestation of your current thoughts. This is not a matter of blame or guilt, but simple recognition of cause and effect. Understanding this principle empowers you to change your future by changing your present thoughts, regardless of current circumstances. If your current circumstances are not what you desire, do not waste energy lamenting them or wondering why they are as they are. Simply recognize that they resulted from past mental patterns and commit to establishing new mental patterns that will produce different results. The past cannot be changed, but the future is entirely malleable, shaped by the mental work you do in the present moment. The technique of mental rehearsal involves practicing desired behaviors and outcomes in your imagination before attempting them in physical reality. Athletes use this technique to improve performance, and you can use it for any area of life. Before an important conversation, rehearse it mentally, seeing yourself communicating clearly and effectively, achieving the desired outcome. Before attempting a challenging project, rehearse each step mentally, visualizing successful completion. This mental practice creates neural pathways and mental patterns that make actual performance easier and more successful. Mental rehearsal is particularly valuable for overcoming fear and anxiety. When you repeatedly visualize yourself successfully navigating a feared situation, you gradually desensitize yourself to the fear and build confidence in your ability to handle it. The subconscious mind does not distinguish between actual experience and vividly imagined experience, So mental rehearsal provides many of the same benefits as actual practice without requiring the external resources or risking actual failure. As we approach the closing insights of this exploration into mental magic, it is worth remembering that these are not theoretical concepts, but practical tools meant to be used daily. Please like and subscribe to Audiobook Library to support the sharing of this transformative wisdom with others who seek to unlock their mental potential. Your engagement helps us continue creating content that can genuinely change lives. The mastery of mental magic requires both knowledge and practice. You can read about these principles extensively, understand them intellectually, and agree with them completely. But until you actually apply them consistently in your daily life, they remain mere concepts rather than living powers. The difference between knowing and doing is the difference between potential and actual, between theory and results. Commit to daily practice of these mental techniques, starting with just a few minutes each day and gradually expanding as the practices become habitual. The practice of mental silence, or meditation, provides a foundation for all other mental magic techniques. In the silence, you learn to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them, to create space between stimulus and response, to access deeper levels of consciousness where intuition and insight arise. Many people find meditation difficult at first because they try to force their minds to be silent, which only creates more mental noise. Instead, simply observe your thoughts without judgment, like watching clouds pass across the sky. Do not engage with them or fight them, simply watch them arise and dissolve. With regular practice, you will find that periods of genuine silence begin to emerge, and in that silence, you can plant mental seeds with tremendous power. A single clear thought, held in the silence of a meditative state, has more creative force than thousands of scattered thoughts in the noise of ordinary consciousness. This is why spiritual teachers throughout history have emphasized meditation as essential to developing higher powers of mind. The law of mental correspondence teaches that your outer world corresponds to your inner world, that external circumstances mirror internal mental states. When you look at your life, you are looking at a reflection of your habitual thoughts and mental patterns. This can be uncomfortable to acknowledge because it means you cannot blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for unsatisfactory conditions. But this uncomfortable truth is also liberating because it means you have the power to change your external conditions by changing your internal mental patterns. Look honestly at areas of your life that are not as you wish them to be. What mental patterns might be creating or perpetuating these conditions? If you struggle with money, examine your thoughts about money. Do you believe it is difficult to earn, that you do not deserve it, that wealthy people are somehow corrupt? These beliefs create mental patterns that repel prosperity. If you struggle with relationships, examine your thoughts about yourself and others. Do you believe you are unlovable, that people cannot be trusted, that relationships inevitably lead to pain? These beliefs create patterns that sabotage connection. Once you identify limiting mental patterns, you can deliberately replace them with empowering ones. This is not quick or easy work. Mental patterns that have been reinforced for years or decades do not dissolve overnight. But with patient, persistent effort, you can reprogram even the deepest mental habits, and as you do, your external circumstances will shift to match your new internal reality. The principle of mental dominion teaches that your mind should rule your life rather than being ruled by external circumstances, other people's opinions, or your own lower impulses. Most people abdicate mental dominion, allowing their minds to be controlled by whatever captures their attention at the moment. They react rather than respond, drift rather than direct, follow rather than lead. But you can reclaim mental dominion by making conscious choices about where to direct your attention, what thoughts to entertain, what attitudes to adopt. This requires vigilance because the mind has a tendency to return to familiar patterns, even destructive ones. You must stand guard at the door of your mind, choosing carefully what you allow to enter and what you reject. Not every thought that arises is worth your attention. Not every emotion that surfaces deserves your engagement. You can observe these mental phenomena without identifying with them or acting on them, maintaining your position as master rather than servant of your mind. The technique of mental projection into desired circumstances involves imaginatively placing yourself in the situation you wish to create and experiencing it as completely as possible in your mind. If you desire a new home, visualize yourself in that home, walking through each room, feeling the textures of the furnishings, smelling the particular scents, hearing the specific sounds. Make the experience so vivid that your subconscious mind accepts it as real. Done consistently with sufficient intensity, this mental projection creates a powerful magnetic pull toward the manifestation of that circumstance. Some people report that when they finally achieve a long visualized goal, the experience feels strangely familiar, as if they have been there before. This is because, in a very real sense, they have been there before through consistent mental projection. Their subconscious mind has become so saturated with the experience that the physical manifestation is simply the final step in a process that has been ongoing at mental levels. The understanding of mental cycles helps you work with natural rhythms rather than against them. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, just as seasons change from spring to summer, to fall to winter, your mental energy and creative power flow in cycles. There are times when action comes easily, when creative ideas flow freely, when obstacles seem to dissolve before you. These are times to push forward, to make progress, to implement your plans aggressively. There are other times when energy feels low, when progress seems difficult, when rest and reflection feel more appropriate than action. Learning to recognize these cycles and adapt your activities accordingly greatly increases your effectiveness. During high-energy periods, take advantage of that energy to accomplish as much as possible. During low-energy periods, focus on planning, learning, and regenerating rather than forcing action. Fighting against natural cycles wastes tremendous energy. Working with them multiplies your effectiveness. The practice of mental blessing involves consciously directing positive mental energy toward people, situations, and circumstances. When you mentally bless something, you send thoughts of goodwill, improvement, and success toward it. This might sound like empty sentiment, but remember that thought is a real force that affects its object. Blessing your work blesses it with mental energy that improves results. Blessing your relationships fills them with positive vibrations that enhance connection. Blessing your challenges transforms them into opportunities. Make it a habit to bless rather than curse, to send positive rather than negative mental energy into every situation. This does not mean denying problems or pretending difficulties do not exist. It means approaching everything with a constructive mental attitude, looking for possibilities rather than limitations, expecting positive outcomes rather than negative ones. This habit of mental blessing transforms not only external circumstances but your own character, making you a source of light rather than darkness, upliftment rather than negativity. The final principle to understand is that mental magic is not separate from ordinary life, but integrated with it. You do not practice these techniques in isolation and then return to regular life. Rather, these principles inform and transform every moment, every interaction, every choice. Mental magic becomes a way of being rather than something you do, a constant awareness of the creative power of thought and the deliberate direction of that power toward constructive ends. As you integrate these principles into your daily life, you will notice subtle shifts at first, then increasingly dramatic changes. Opportunities will appear where none seem to exist. Solutions will emerge to problems that seemed insurmountable. People will respond to you differently, doors will open, circumstances will align to support your goals. This is not magic in the supernatural sense, but the natural operation of mental laws, as reliable and predictable as any physical law once you understand and apply them correctly. The journey of mental mastery is lifelong. There is always deeper understanding to gain, greater powers to develop, more refined control to achieve, but even the first steps on this path produce noticeable results. Even basic application of these principles improves life measurably, and the improvements compound over time, creating momentum that accelerates your progress and magnifies your results. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. Countless others have walked this path before you, and many walk it now alongside you. The principles of mental magic have been tested and proven through centuries of application by seekers in every culture and every era. You stand in a great lineage of mental masters who discovered that the true magic lies not in external forces or supernatural intervention, but in the proper understanding and application of the natural powers of the human mind. Your thoughts are not random, meaningless ephemera, but creative forces that shape your reality. Your beliefs are not passive observations, but active builders of experience. Your mental images are not empty fantasies, but blueprints that your entire being works to construct in physical form. Understanding this, truly grasping it at a level deeper than intellectual comprehension, changes everything. You are the architect of your experience, the artist of your life, the magician who can transform base circumstances into golden outcomes through the skillful application of mental magic. The power has always been within you, waiting only for your recognition and use. The external world, with all its apparent solidity and resistance, is ultimately subordinate to the inner world of thought and consciousness. Change the inner, and the outer must follow. This is the secret that the ancient mystery schools guarded so carefully. The knowledge that initiates proved themselves worthy to receive. But in this era, these secrets are available to anyone willing to study them seriously and apply them diligently. The gatekeepers have opened the gates. The knowledge is freely available. The only question that remains is whether you will do the work necessary to transform knowledge into wisdom, theory into practice, potential into actual. Begin today, right now, with simple steps. Choose one mental habit to establish and practice it daily. Perhaps you commit to 5 minutes of visualization each morning, creating clear mental pictures of your desired outcomes. Perhaps you commit to replacing one limiting belief with an empowering one, repeating a new affirmation throughout the day. Perhaps you commit to maintaining awareness of your thoughts, gently redirecting them toward the positive whenever you notice negative patterns emerging. These simple practices, done consistently, create profound changes over time. The compound interest of mental magic accumulates, small daily deposits growing into massive reserves of mental power. A year from now, looking back, you will be amazed at how much has changed. 5 years from now, your life may be so transformed that you barely recognize it. And it all begins with this moment, this choice, this commitment to master your mental powers and direct them consciously toward your chosen ends. The universe awaits your command. The creative forces that shaped galaxies and sparked stars into existence flow through your consciousness, awaiting only your direction to reshape your personal world. You are not powerless, not subject to random fate, not bound by current circumstances. You are a mental magician in training, learning to wield powers that most people never suspect exist. Take up this knowledge with reverence and responsibility. Use these powers not for selfish manipulation, but for genuine improvement, not only in your own life, but in the lives of all those your influence touches. As you rise, lift others. As you succeed, share the principles that enabled that success. As you master your mental powers, become a beacon of possibility for those still struggling in mental confusion. The work is not always easy. There will be moments of doubt, periods when progress seems stalled, times when old patterns reassert themselves with surprising force. This is normal and expected. Do not be discouraged by temporary setbacks. Remember that you are reprogramming mental patterns that may have been in place for decades. Be patient with yourself while remaining persistent in your practice. Celebrate small victories. Notice when you successfully redirect a negative thought pattern, when you maintain your poise in a challenging situation, when a visualization manifests in physical reality. These successes, acknowledged and appreciated, build confidence and momentum. They prove to your subconscious mind that the principles work, which strengthens your faith and makes subsequent practice more effective. Study these principles repeatedly. Understanding deepens with each review. Things that seemed abstract or unclear on first reading suddenly become crystal clear on the third or fifth reading. Your consciousness evolves as you work with these ideas, developing the capacity to perceive subtler truths and apply them more effectively. Make this material a constant companion, returning to it regularly for inspiration, instruction, and encouragement. Find others who walk this path and support each other. Mental magic works even more powerfully when practiced in community, where mutual encouragement strengthens everyone's resolve and shared understanding deepens everyone's insight. But choose your companions wisely. Seek out those who are genuinely committed to growth, who maintain positive attitudes, who support your evolution rather than drag you back into limiting patterns. Please check our channel for other videos that explore related topics and provide additional tools for mental and spiritual development. Our library contains resources that complement and deepen the understanding you have gained here, providing practical techniques for applying these principles in specific areas of life. Each video is crafted to provide maximum value to genuinely serve your growth and transformation. The secret of mental magic is no longer secret for you. You now possess knowledge that can transform every aspect of your existence. The only remaining question is what you will do with this knowledge. Will you file it away as interesting information and return to old patterns? Or will you commit to the work of integration, making these principles living realities in your daily experience? The choice is yours, as all choices ultimately are. Your power, your potential, your possibilities are limited only by your willingness to recognize them and work with them consistently. The universe places no restrictions on what you can achieve through proper application of mental magic. The only limitations are those you accept in your own mind, and even those can be dissolved through persistent application of the principles you have learned. You stand at a threshold, a moment of decision between the old way and the new, between unconscious drifting and conscious creation, between being a victim of circumstances and a master of reality. Step boldly across that threshold. Claim your power as a mental magician. Begin the work that will transform not only your life, but your very self. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and you have already taken that step by dedicating this time to understanding these principles. Now take the next step, and the next, and the next, each one carrying you further into mastery, each one bringing you closer to the life you are meant to live, the person you are meant to become. The power is within you, waiting. The principles are before you, ready. The moment is now, eternal. Begin.